Hello and welcome to the final podcast in the history of chocolate, Unit 12, The Future of Chocolate. The learning outcomes for this unit are: Number 1. Describe how new types of cacao, such as CCN51, are transforming chocolate production. Number 2. Understand how global warming is affecting cacao farming. And number 3. Recognize the challenge of increasing demand for chocolate around the world. In our last podcast, we discussed how chocolate has become a globalized product of the 21st century. This has produced rampant exploitation and poverty for some, and billions of dollars in profit for others. Recent initiatives have tried to change the industry, and one can be hopeful that this will happen. However, even if chocolate can become an ethical product, free from child slavery and exploitation, with a fair and sustainable price paid to farmers, what does the future of chocolate look like? Unfortunately, the industry has other problems which it is being forced to confront, which is leading the scary conclusion: is the world running out of chocolate? In this podcast, we'll explore some of the challenges facing the chocolate industry. The world is certainly in love with chocolate. Currently, 3.5 million tons of cacao are produced each year to feed a growing worldwide demand for chocolate. This is expected to increase to 4.5 million tons by 2020. Increasing demand for chocolate is being driven in part by non-Western growing economies such as China and India. It is safe to say the world loves chocolate and it's not going to lessen in the coming years. The question is, will farmers be able to meet this increasing demand? The problem with chocolate is that cacao remains an extremely delicate plant to farm. Cacao is prone to diseases, drought, and other climate fluctuations, which are predicted to increase in the coming years due to global warming. Yet prices for cacao remain quite low. This has led many cacao farmers to leave cacao for more profitable and dependable crops. This in turn puts pressure on the remaining farmers to meet demand. Cacao farming in Mesoamerica has been hit particularly hard by a disease called witch's broom. Witch's broom is a highly infectious fungus which has devastated cacao crops throughout the Americas. You can see a couple of affected pods in the picture. So far, the pathogen is limited to South America, Mesoamerica, and the Caribbean. However, it is only a matter of time before it shows up elsewhere. One potential solution is a new variety of cacao tree known as CCN51. In this picture, you see a farmer holding up two cacao pods. The one on the right is a traditional Mesoamerican variety. The one on the left is the new CCN51 pod, which is larger. On the surface, this seems like a perfect solution. CCN51 was developed in Ecuador about 50 years ago. The variety is resistant to all sorts of diseases, including witch's broom, and can yield about 4 times as much cacao as the average normal cacao tree. Adopting the new variety across the tropics might seem like an easy decision, given its higher productivity. But CCN51 has sparked a debate among chocolate producers and consumers. Many people argue that the chocolate produced by the variety is inferior tasting. Some go as far to say as it tastes awful. Nevertheless, the big chocolate manufacturers have been slowly incorporating CCN51 into their mixes over the past decade. So much so that if you've eaten chocolate recently, you've probably had some CCN51. Another major issue facing the chocolate industry is global warming, a phenomenon which means increasing global temperatures due to human activity. Recent studies have shown that cacao farming areas in Africa, such as the Ivory Coast and Ghana, are predicted to be adversely affected. Since the topography of these regions will be radically different by 2050, there may be the impossibility of growing cacao there. Even by 2030, cacao production in those areas will be dramatically lower. Farmers may have to find ways to adapt their farming techniques or use more heat-resistant cacao varieties in order to survive. Okay, so what is the future of chocolate? Well, of course, nobody really knows. After 12 units of the history of chocolate, you're in as good of a position as anyone to try to predict that. If there is one thing that's for sure, it's that change has been part of chocolate's history since the beginning. For most of chocolate's history, it was a drink enjoyed by the elite and the powerful, the rich and the well-to-do. The 20th century saw chocolate become a globalized and Western product, a sugar confectionery available to nearly everyone on every corner of the planet. But this adaptation came at a terrible human cost. The chocolate industry in the years to come faces not only ethical questions, but technological hurdles as well, as it confronts global warming and the problems of cacao production. If there is one thing that's for certain, that would be that the love affair the world has with chocolate is not going to be ending anytime soon.